Let's do a quick mechanics check before we get into the video. Try to keep your mouse on the target dummy or trace with your finger if you're on mobile. Let's do that again with a different camera movement, but this time I'll help you out, make it a little bit easier, and highlight the target for you. One last time, might be a little bit difficult, but try your best. So the whole point of that was to demonstrate the relationship between target selection and camera movement. First we had lock screen, then pushing the camera with the mouse, and finally leaving the camera still. Now I'm going to take a guess as to which one was the easiest, and if I'm right, you have to do me a favor and subscribe. Alright, you ready? Lock screen. Did that surprise you? It must have been the easiest because for some reason, everyone locks their So the default binds in League of Legends are absolute garbage in my opinion. The QWER part is fine, it's just that they use the entire number row for items and trinket when you're almost never going to have this many items. Also, your pointer finger is absolutely overloaded with both summoners being there as well as being responsible for your E and R key if you're a normal person. I mean, if you're a 4-finger player like this, I immediately suggest you just take off the bib and join us in the adult world. Save that pinky for modifiers and keep your hand in a better position. The F keys to select your allies are also absolutely ridiculous. How do any rioters expect this to be used when most people just AFK their fingers on QWER the entire game? Okay, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to go over every single gripe. I'll just show you my binds and we'll go from there. First, we need to put our camera on WASD. I mean, fucking obviously, right? That's the title. So make sure your camera movement speed is also not 0. For some reason it starts at 0, just move it to 50 by default. Now set up your abilities on 1, 2, 3, 4 and your summoners on QE. This offloads your non-flash bind to your ring finger. Your flash must be on E, this is non-negotiable. Your pointer must have the most important bind because your other fingers are probably worthless in dexterity in comparison. There's no flash on D or F, it's E, motherfuckers. The items are the only place I'm okay with people doing alternatives. They tend to not be used too much, and even when they do, 5 and 6 are okay for me because I have long fingers and I play Tetris, but if you're a noob with low APM and or short fingers, you can just bind them to a closer button or even like a mouse button. As for your trinket, just use the middle mouse button, saves you a bind. Now before I give you tips on how to use these binds, you need to understand a couple of things so you know why you're using these binds. Now before we go any further, we first have to talk about DPI. DPI stands for dots per inch, and to put it super simply, it's basically just how quickly your cursor moves relative to how much you're moving the actual physical mouse. Again, to put it really simply, a lower DPI means that you have to move your wrist/arm if you're disciplined a lot more, but the slower cursor movement allows you to be a lot more accurate. And a higher DPI means you don't have to move as much, but you'll probably be a lot less accurate given that your cursor jumps around a lot faster. Ultimately, it's a preference thing, but I will recommend that you become a lower DPI player around 800 or so, especially with these binds, and just get used to picking up your mouse if you have low mousepad space, and incorporating the arm a lot more to take the load off your wrist for longevity. Just for example, this is how much I have to move to get my cursor from one side of the screen to the other. The reason why I recommend this is because if you don't have to move the camera with your mouse anymore, you can place your cursor where it needs to be at all times in the game accurately with the lower DPI. Now remember at the start of the video where I had you track people with your mouse, I want you to watch some of the gameplay clips and just pay attention to where my character, camera, and cursor are, and I think you'll understand this a little bit better. If you'll notice, I rarely have to move my cursor away from my character, and the reason why this is really important is something I'll go into the future video, but to put it simply, I'm always ready to move my character, to dodge, to change direction, or aim at my opponent. And the advantage I have over lock screen players is that I can see a lot more of what I need to see. For example, right here, I land a spear and there's no point looking to my right, so I pan to the left. And back to an earlier example with Varus, I don't need to look at anything behind me here. I simply need to look at where Ezreal's actually going to go, or possibly go, and I basically hold my cursor where I think he'll E, almost like I'm playing Valorant, you know, waiting to click ahead. The advantage I have over mouse pushers is that on top of the shit I mentioned earlier, I can be a lot more accurate with my camera movement as to where it goes because holding a button down is different than holding your mouse at the edge of the screen, as well as the most obvious difference, which is that I have a button for each direction while you have to move your mouse back and forth if you wanted to pan between two directions. Here's a quick clip I filmed to demonstrate this. Look at this shit, you mouse pushers. I can move 4 directions whenever I want because I have 4 buttons. Look, right and then left, right and left, down, up, whatever. I can go up and to the right. Meanwhile, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to push, Oh, I need to look here now. Oh, I need to look here now. I gotta push my shit. How can I EQ and do that at the same time? Fuck you. Also, for the people who hold down spacebar the entire time to center camera and release it when needed, first of all, what the fuck? But also, if you're used to that kind of jarring movement, absolutely go ahead, that's totally fine, but I would just generally recommend a smoother process. Okay, to summarize, we have 3 distinct ways of playing. I'm not saying that they're the only ways to play, I'm just making it simple. You can obviously do a combination of things, and I'll link you this timestamp if you're nitpicking so you can shut the fuck up. Alright, we have perma lock screen, pushing the camera while centering the spacebar, and WASD buy-ins. Here are the pros and cons. Lock screen allows you to never worry about moving the mouse to the edge of the screen, but you'll inevitably miss details off screen because you're too busy staring at yourself. Pushing the camera manually while centering with spacebar allows you to see more, but your cursor will have to constantly readjust to the centering as well as pushing, which means you'll inevitably have some bad inputs, like if you're pushing the screen to the right, but you have to move your character to the left at the same time. WASD gives you both camera control as well as cursor placement. Now the only downside is a big one. It's entirely dependent on your skill. So how do you actually get good at this? Well, simple. Make sure your resting posture is on WASD, and whenever you need to use abilities, just move your hand up to 1, 2, 3, 4. Seriously, that's it. Just move your hand back and forth between WASD and 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't have to do both at the same time, as long as you are constantly pushing your camera to where it needs to be before the action happens. If for some reason your camera is entirely off your character, you can still use a spacebar to center camera if you absolutely need it. Okay, and with that, I hope you go and try these sort of things. It'll make you a way better player, I promise you. Seriously, this is the best coaching advice I can ever give anyone. You have terrible camera control, I can almost guarantee it. The moment you get that down, you're going to be a way better player. You're going to miss a lot less details and lower your DPI. Okay, good luck. And also, StarCraft 2 is a free download. Go work on that APM. Okay, thanks. You reached the end of the video. Give me a like, comment, subscribe. After Arena, viewership, boom, gone. Absolutely gone. So gameplay commentaries, probably not stonks at all. I'm going to just go ahead and do all these meta reports and like little analysis videos on how to play better or something. That's probably all I'm going to do. Okay, until next Arena. Thanks for watching. Click one of these thingies or something. I don't know.